In the gleaming towers of Meridian Industries, a junior developer was about to discover her wrong elevator ride would change everything. What started as her first day at work took a shocking turn when she came face to face with the executive, floor's security, and her own mysterious inheritance. Sophia Reeves wasn't your typical tech worker. For 28 years, she had spent her life in Queens with her construction worker father, known for her brilliant code and thrift store blazers that couldn't hide her talent. When she encountered the boardroom full of corporate titans revealing her true identity, she had no idea she was walking into a legacy of corruption and redemption 20 years in the making. Sophia's humiliation in the lobby that morning would lead to her becoming the most powerful person in the building. What began as an orientation day mix-up would become the complete transformation of a corporate empire. The halls of Meridian Industries would never be the same after the intern became the owner. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow, I've saved something extra special for you. The elevator doors reflected Sophia Reeves's anxious face, a distortion that seemed fitting for how out of place she felt. Her thrift store blazer, yesterday's proud find, now felt like a neon sign advertising her inability to belong at Meridian Industries. Going up? A man in Armani gestured toward the elevator, his Rolex catching the light. Sophia nodded, clutching her brown paper lunch bag. The IT orientation packet had said casual dress was fine, but looking at the designer labels around her, she wondered if their definition of casual meant something entirely different. The morning had started with such promise. She'd woken at 5:30, too excited to sleep. Her father, Thomas, had made her favorite breakfast, scrambled eggs with much pepper, just like her mother used to make. "Just remember," he'd said, adjusting her collar, "you earned this. Your code got you through that door." But now, standing in an elevator that probably cost more than her education, everything else seemed to matter. The elevator filled with executives discussing quarterly projections. Sophia pressed against the back wall, trying to become invisible. When the doors opened on the 30th floor, IT and development, she started to exit, but the crush of bodies boarding pushed her back. "Sorry," she muttered, unheard. By the time she extracted herself, the elevator had climbed to the 50th floor. The executive level. The doors revealed a different world. While developer floors were open plan and bustling, this was mahogany and marble, with art that cost more than most homes. The silence was profound. Sophia jabbed at the elevator button, but it had descended. The executive elevator operated on a different system. Without an executive card, she couldn't summon it. "Just find the stairs," she told herself. But the hallways formed a maze of identical corners and closed doors with brass nameplates. 10 minutes later, she heard voices. "Told him if he couldn't deliver Singapore by Friday, we'd find someone who could." Sophia froze. She ducked into an alcove, pressing against the wall. The executives passed, discussing leveraged buyouts. When their voices faded, she emerged, directly into a security guard's chest. "Ma'am?" James Mitchell had been head of executive floor security for 5 years. He knew every face that belonged here. This young woman in her ill-fitting blazer wasn't one of them. "This is a restricted floor. I'll need identification." Sophia fumbled for her badge. "I'm sorry, I'm new. Started today in development. I got pushed back in the elevator and—" "Development's on 30. James examined her badge. Junior developer, level 1 clearance. "This is the executive floor, C-suite only." "I know, I was trying to find the stairs." "Ma'am, I'm going to need you to come with me." His tone shifted to procedural. In his experience, people who accidentally ended up here were either corporate spies or delusional job seekers. "Wait! No, I work here." Sophia's voice rose as James spoke into his radio. "Check the system. Sophia Reeves, I started today." But James had already made up his mind. Young woman, Cheap clothes, nervous behavior, wandering the C-suite during lunch hour. The situation screamed security breach. Marcus Sterling stood at his office window, watching the city like a general surveying territory. At 48, he'd cultivated presence that made boards nervous and competitors sleepless. The corner office, Eleanor Meridian's old space, commanded views from downtown to the mountains. His phone buzzed. "Sir, security's escorting someone out." Apparently tried to access the executive floor with a developer badge. Marcus's lips curved. Industrial espionage? James doesn't think so. Says she seems more confused than calculating. New hire, supposedly. Then let Mitchell handle it. Marcus was already turning back to his reports when his assistant added, "Sir, they're taking her through the main lobby. During lunch rush. It's drawing attention." Now Marcus smiled. A little public humiliation did wonders for maintaining security protocols. He moved to his window overlooking the lobby atrium. Below, he could see the procession. Mitchell and two guards flanking a young woman whose dark hair had escaped a hasty bun. She gestured frantically, her lunch clutched in one hand while the other waved her ID badge. "Please, just check the system." Sophia's voice carried up through the soaring space. "I'm supposed to be here." Employees gathering for lunch turned to stare. Phones appeared, recording the scene. Someone from marketing, Sophia recognized him from orientation, quickly looked away when their eyes met. "Ma'am, you can sort this out with HR," James said, his military bearing making him seem like a mountain beside her. "But you need to leave the building now." The walk through the lobby felt endless. Sophia's cheeks burned as whispers followed. She caught fragments. Intern. Trespassing. Probably thought she could network. Each one cutting deeper. By the time they reached the revolving doors, her humiliation was complete. James's expression had softened slightly, but protocol was protocol. "Look," he said quietly. "Call HR, get this sorted. But next time, stay on your assigned floor." Sophia stood on the sidewalk, lunch bag crumpled in shaking hands, watching employees disperse back to their routines. Her phone buzzed. A notification from the company's internal network. Someone had posted a video. "When you think you belong in the C-suite on day one. So. Intern fail. Know your place." She was about to call her father when her phone rang. "Ms. Reeves?" The voice was crisp, professional. "This is Samantha Rodriguez from Legal. You're needed in the boardroom immediately." I was just escorted out." "Yes, we're aware. Security will meet you at the entrance. This time, they'll be escorting you in." The line went dead. Sophia stared at her phone, then at the building that had expelled her. Through the glass, she could see James Mitchell, walking toward the door, his expression unreadable. Something had changed in the 5 minutes since her humiliation. Something that would transform her from corporate joke to the most powerful person in the building. The security guard who'd just thrown her out was walking toward her, and this time? He looked afraid. James Mitchell's hand trembled slightly as he held the door open. The same revolving door he'd escorted her through minutes ago now seemed to mock them both with its gleaming brass. "Ms. Reeves," he said, his military posture rigid but his eyes avoiding hers. "I apologize for the confusion. If you'll follow me." Sophia's mind raced as she stepped back into the lobby. The same employees who'd watched her humiliation now stared, with different interest, confused, curious, some still recording. The viral video was probably circulating through every department, and now here she was, being escorted back in by the same security chief who'd removed her. "What's happening?" she asked, as James led her to a private executive elevator she hadn't known existed. "I'm not at liberty to say, ma'am." His finger hovered over the button for the 51st floor, one above where she'd gotten lost. "The board is waiting." The board. Sophia's stomach clenched. Had she violated some corporate policy? Was she being fired on her first day? But why bring her to the board level? The elevator climbed in silence. When the doors opened, she found herself in a reception area that made the executive floor look modest. Original paintings, actual Monets, she realized, lined the walls. Samantha Rodriguez waited by massive double doors, her silver hair pulled back severely, matching her charcoal suit. Everything about her spoke of precision. Ms. Reeves, Sam's voice carried an undercurrent Sophia couldn't identify. Before we go in, I need to ask, were you aware of any connection between your family and Meridian Industries? My what? Sophia's confusion deepened. No, I applied through the normal channels. My coding assessment, the technical interviews. I see. Sam's dark eyes studied her intensely. And your grandmother, your maternal grandmother. Did you know her? She died before I was born. The questions were making Sophia's head spin. My mom died when I was 3. I don't understand what this has to do with... Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. Everything, Sam said quietly. Then, pushed open the boardroom doors. The room beyond took Sophia's breath away. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed the city skyline, and around a table that could seat 12 people in expensive suits turned to stare. At the head sat Marcus Sterling, and even from across the room, Sophia could feel controlled fury radiating from him. Ladies and gentlemen, Sam announced, Sophia Reeves. The silence was suffocating. Sophia stood frozen, acutely aware of her wrinkled blazer, her scuffed shoes, the lunch bag she still clutched. Sit, Marcus commanded, gesturing to a chair at the opposite end. The walk felt endless, every board member tracking her movement. She recognized some faces from the company website, titans of industry, former senators, people whose decisions affected millions. When she finally sat, Sam remained standing beside her, opening her portfolio with practiced efficiency. At 11:47, this morning, Sam began, Meridian Industries received official notification from the estate of Eleanor Meridian regarding the disposition of her assets following her death 16 days ago. Eleanor Meridian. Even Sophia knew that name, the legendary founder who'd built the company from nothing, who disappeared from public life 20 years ago. But she was supposed to be alive, a recluse in Switzerland. The will, Sam continued, was quite specific. Eleanor Meridian's 51% controlling interest in Meridian Industries, she paused, letting the weight settle, is to be transferred in its entirety to her granddaughter, Sophia Marie Reeves. The explosion was immediate. Board members erupted in shouts, some standing, others pounding the table. Marcus Sterling remained perfectly still, his face a mask that couldn't quite hide the calculation behind his eyes. This is impossible. The CFO slammed his portfolio shut. Eleanor Meridian had no children. She had one daughter, Sam corrected, her voice cutting through chaos. Catherine Meridian, who changed her name to Catherine Reeves upon marriage. She died 25 years ago, leaving behind a 3-year-old daughter. Sophia felt the room spin. Her mother's maiden name had been Reeves. She'd never known it was changed. Her father had always said her mother came from a difficult family situation, that it was better not to dig into painful history. I don't. Sophia's voice was barely a whisper. This has to be a mistake. I assure you it's not. Oliver Westbrook spoke for the first time, his voice wheezing but satisfied. The elderly board member's eyes twinkled as he studied Sophia. I helped Eleanor draft that will myself. She was quite thorough. This is ridiculous. A woman in pearls gestured dismissively at Sophia. Look at her. She's a child, a nobody. You can't seriously expect us to... What I expect, Sam interrupted, steel in her voice, is for this board to respect the legal transfer of ownership. Ms. Reeves now controls 51% of Meridian Industries. That makes her, effectively, the owner of this company. The silence that followed was deafening. Sophia watched Marcus Sterling's hands clench almost imperceptibly. There's more, Sam said, producing a tablet. Eleanor left a video message. The lights dimmed, and the wall screen illuminated. Sophia gasped. The woman on screen looked nothing like corporate photos. Eleanor Meridian was gaunt, clearly ill, but her eyes, Sophia's breath caught. Those were her mother's eyes. Her own. Hello, Sophia. The voice was weaker than imagined, but steel remained underneath. If you're watching this, then I'm dead, and you're sitting in a room full of vultures wondering how the intern they just humiliated became their boss. Several board members shifted uncomfortably. Marcus's jaw tightened. I know you have questions. Why I stayed away. Why I let you grow up without knowing who you were. The simple answer is that I was a coward. The complex answer. Well, that's hidden in my office. The one they sealed after I left. Eleanor leaned forward, and despite the recording, Sophia felt her grandmother looking directly at her. I built this company from nothing, watched it grow, watched it corrupt, watched it destroy the only truly good man I ever knew. Your father. Thomas Reeves tried to save Meridian Industries from itself 20 years ago. They destroyed him for it. I let them, because I thought I could fix it from the inside. Sophia's hands clenched. Her father. Destroyed? He'd told her he'd left. Corporate life by choice. I failed, but you, my dear granddaughter, you have something I lost. Innocence. They'll try to buy it, corrupt it, twist it. The man at the head of that table, Marcus Sterling, he's very good at that. He practiced on your father. All eyes turned to Marcus. Whatever you choose, there are consequences. The sins of 2005 haven't been buried as deep as some think. The screen went dark. Marcus Sterling stood, buttoning his suit jacket with practiced precision. Well, he said, his voice carrying the calm that preceded storms, this has been illuminating. Ms. Reeves, I'm sure you're overwhelmed. Perhaps we should adjourn, give you time to process this. Surprise. Sit down, Marcus. The command came from Sophia's lips before she'd even realized she was speaking. Something in Eleanor's message, in the revelation about her father, had sparked a fire she didn't know existed. We're not done here. The room froze. Marcus Sterling, who'd commanded boards and broken competitors for 2 decades, slowly turned to face the young woman in the cheap blazer. I beg your pardon? You heard me. Sophia stood, her legs shaky but her voice growing stronger. My grandmother just said you destroyed my father. I want to know how. Your grandmother was ill. Marcus's tone was patronizing, dangerous. Clearly her mind was sharp enough to leave me 51% of this company. Sophia met his gaze, seeing for the first time the predator beneath the polish. Which means, as Ms. Rodriguez pointed out, I own Meridian Industries. So I'll ask again, what happened to my father? Oliver Westbrook chuckled, a dry sound, like leaves rustling. Oh, Eleanor, you clever old witch. You actually did it. Did what? Sophia asked, not taking her eyes off Marcus. She found someone who can't be bought, Oliver replied. Someone with nothing to lose and everything to prove. Someone who just got publicly humiliated by the very power structure she now controls. Understanding dawned on several faces. The viral video of Sophia's escort from the building. Within hours, every employee would know that the woman they'd laughed at now owned the company. It was a narrative that would make her instantly sympathetic to the rank and file, while making the executives look like fools. This is a setup, Marcus said quietly. Eleanor planned this entire... Of course she did. Sam Rodriguez closed her portfolio with a snap. The question is, what are you going to do about it? Challenge the will? On what grounds? DNA tests will confirm Ms. Reeves's identity. The documentation is ironclad. I should know. I prepared it myself. Sophia felt the ground shifting beneath her feet. An hour ago, she'd been a junior developer grateful for a chance. Now she stood at the center of a corporate chess game 20 years in the making. I need to see her office, she said finally. My grandmother's office. It's been sealed since, Marcus began. Then unseal it. Sophia's voice carried new authority. Unless there's a reason you don't want me to see what's in there? The challenge hung in the air. Marcus's smile was razor thin. Of course not. Sam, please arrange for Ms. Reeves to have full access. After all, his eyes glittered darkly, she owns the company. As the board members filed out, Oliver Westbrook paused beside Sophia's chair. Your grandmother was the smartest person I ever knew, he said quietly. Also the most ruthless. The question is, which did she pass on to you? Before Sophia could answer, he was gone, leaving her alone with Sam Rodriguez. Ms. Reeves, Sam began carefully. I should warn you. I need to see my father. Sophia grabbed her bag, the weight of everything threatening to crush her. I need answers. Of course, but first. Sam pulled out a card. My direct number. You're going to need allies. I served your grandmother faithfully for 10 years. I'd like to offer you the same loyalty. Sophia took the card, unsure whether to trust this polished woman who'd just upended her life. Why? Because Eleanor saved my career once, and because Marcus Sterling needs to be stopped. Sam's professional mask slipped, revealing something raw underneath. Your grandmother kept detailed records. When you're ready, I'll help you understand them. The Uber ride to Queens felt like traveling between universes. Sophia watched Manhattan's towers give way to modest brownstones, her phone buzzing constantly. The video of her humiliation had gone viral within Meridian, but newer notifications flooded in, confused messages from coworkers, LinkedIn requests from executives, 17 missed calls from an unknown number. She turned the phone off. Whatever came next, she needed to face her father first. Thomas Reeves was waiting on the stoop, still in his construction supervisor coveralls. At 52, he remained handsome in a weathered way, though the lines around his eyes had deepened. Those eyes watched her approach with an expression she'd never seen before, fear mixed with resignation. Dad? She began, but he was already turning toward the door. Inside, Sophie. Not out here. Their apartment was the same rent-controlled unit they'd lived in since she was 8. The same faded couch, the same kitchen table where she'd done homework, the same photo of her mother on the mantel, the only one he'd kept displayed. You want coffee? Thomas moved to the kitchen automatically, hands needing something to do. I want the truth. Sophia set her bag on the table harder than necessary. About Eleanor Meridian, about Mom, about what happened to you 20 years ago. Thomas's shoulders sagged. He abandoned the coffee maker and sank into a kitchen chair. How much do you know? I know Eleanor Meridian was my grandmother. I know she just left me controlling interest in one of the largest companies in America. I know Marcus Sterling destroyed you somehow. Sophia sat across from him, her voice breaking. I know you've been lying to me my entire life. Not lying, Thomas said quietly. Protecting. From what? From inheriting a fortune? From knowing who I really am? From them! The words exploded out of him. Thomas's fist hit the table, making Sophia jump. She'd never seen her calm father show this emotion. From that world, that poisonous, soul-crushing world that takes everything good and twists it into profit margins and power plays. He stood abruptly, pacing to the window. Your mother never told me who her family was when we met. Catherine? Reeves, she said. Family was complicated. I didn't push. We married fast. Too fast, her family said, though I didn't know who was saying it. It wasn't until she was pregnant with you that she told me the truth. Her mother was Eleanor Meridian. She'd run away at 18, changed her name, tried to build a life outside her mother's shadow. Why run from all that? Thomas turned from the window, eyes haunted. Because Eleanor Meridian was brilliant, driven, and absolutely ruthless. Your mother watched her destroy competitors, partners, anyone who got in the way. Catherine wanted something different. Love, family, a normal life. He laughed bitterly. She got 3 years of it, 3 years before the cancer took her. And in her last days, delirious with pain medication, she made me promise. Keep Sophia away from them. Keep her away from Meridian Industries. So you did. You kept me away from my only living relative. Eleanor tried to contact us after Catherine died. Letters, lawyers, once she even showed up here. Thomas returned to his chair. I threatened to disappear with you if she didn't stay away. She backed off. I thought that was the end. But it wasn't. No. By 2004, I was heading up infrastructure development for the East Coast division of Meridian Industries. Sophia's breath caught. Before she could respond, a sharp knock echoed through the apartment. Ms. Reeves? A feminine voice called. My name is Vivian Sterling. We need to talk about our mutual problem. Thomas grabbed Sophia's arm. Sterling's wife. Don't. But Sophia was already moving toward the door. Through the peephole, she saw a woman who belonged on magazine covers, not in a Queen's apartment building. Vivian Sterling wore a coat worth 6 months' rent, but her perfect makeup showed cracks, smeared mascara, a tremor in her jaw. I'm alone, Vivian said, somehow knowing Sophia was watching. And I have information about what Marcus is planning. Information that might keep you alive long enough to decide if you want to fight or run. Sophia glanced back at her father, whose face had gone pale. Then she opened the door. Vivian Sterling swept in like a force of nature, bringing the scent of expensive perfume and desperation. Up close, Sophia could see the careful construction. Hair extensions, subtle Botox, diamonds that screamed wealth but whispered insecurity. Mr. Reeves. Vivian nodded at Thomas, who stood frozen by the kitchen table. I remember you. Marcus keeps your file in his private safe, updates it quarterly. You'd be disturbed by how detailed it is. What do you want? Sophia positioned herself between Vivian and her father. The same thing you do, I imagine, to see Marcus Sterling destroyed. Vivian's smile was sharp as broken glass. Though, perhaps for different reasons. She moved to the window, peering through the blinds as if checking for followers. Right now, Marcus is holding an emergency meeting with his inner circle. 3 lawyers, 2 board members he owns, and a very expensive crisis management firm. They're discussing how to invalidate Eleanor's will. Let them try, Sophia said. Ms. Rodriguez said the documentation was ironclad. Sam Rodriguez is brilliant, but she doesn't know Marcus like I do. Vivian turned from the window. He's already moving assets offshore, destroying documents, preparing to burn the whole company down rather than let you have it. By morning, there won't be anything left to inherit but lawsuits and debt. Thomas finally found his voice. Why warn us? What's your angle? 23 years of marriage to a sociopath buys you certain insights. Vivian's mask slipped, revealing exhaustion underneath. Do you know what it's like to realize you've wasted your life on someone incapable of love? Who sees you as just another asset to manage? She pulled out her phone, showing them a photograph. This was taken an hour ago. Marcus's private elevator. See the briefcase? Those are the real books, the ones that show where the bodies are buried, literally. In some cases, infrastructure projects that collapsed, safety inspections that were bought. People who asked too many questions and had accidents. You have access to this? Sophia studied the image. I have access to everything. Marcus never thought the trophy wife was smart enough to pay attention. Vivian's laugh was bitter. Stanford Law, graduated summa cum laude. But he preferred me decorative and silent, so that's what I became. Until now. What do you want in exchange? Protection? Immunity? And $30 million. My prenup is ironclad unless I can prove criminal behavior. Vivian met Sophia's gaze. Help me destroy him and I'll help you save the company. Refuse and by tomorrow morning, you'll own nothing but Eleanor's office furniture. Thomas stepped forward. Sophie, you can't trust. I know exactly what I can trust. Sophia surprised herself with the steel in her voice. I can trust that everyone in this game has their own agenda. The question is whose agenda aligns with mine. She studied Vivian Sterling, the perfect clothes, the desperate eyes. You said Marcus has the real books in that briefcase? He's paranoid about digital records. Keeps the most damaging information on paper, in a safe only he can access. But tonight, he's moving it. Too risky to keep it in the building with you having access. Where? A warehouse in New Jersey, officially owned by a shell company based in the Caymans. He'll personally supervise the transfer. He doesn't trust anyone else with those particular secrets. Sophia made a decision that would have seemed impossible that morning. What time? Midnight. Small crew, private security. He thinks you're too overwhelmed to move this fast. Then he doesn't know me very well. Sophia turned to her father. Dad, I need you to tell me exactly what you found 20 years ago. Every detail you remember. Thomas looked between his daughter and Vivian Sterling, seeing something in Sophia's eyes that made him simultaneously proud and terrified. The infrastructure fraud was just the tip, he began slowly. There were government contracts worth billions, all based on falsified safety data. Bridge inspections that never happened, building materials that didn't meet code, kickbacks to inspectors. I had names, dates, account numbers, all of which Marcus kept, Vivian interrupted. Your investigation terrified him, Mr. Reeves. He's spent 20 years making sure no one could ever put those pieces together again, but he never throws anything away. Blackmail material is too valuable. So we get the briefcase, Sophia said. It's not that simple. The warehouse is a fortress. Armed guards, surveillance, no official connection to Meridian Industries. And if Marcus suspects anything, he already suspects. That's why he's moving everything tonight. Sophia pulled out her phone. Ms. Rodriguez, it's Sophia Reeves. I need you to meet me at the Meridian building in an hour. Bring Oliver Westbrook if you can find him. And Ms. Rodriguez, tell security I'll be using the executive entrance. She hung up and looked at Vivian. You're going to draw me a detailed layout of that warehouse. Every entrance, every camera, every guard position you know about. You're not seriously thinking of, Thomas began. I'm thinking like Eleanor, Sophia said quietly. She didn't leave me this company to watch Marcus destroy it. She left me a weapon. I just need to figure out how to use it. Vivian Sterling's smile turned genuine for the first time. You know, I think I underestimated you, just like everyone else did today. Good. Sophia straightened, and for a moment, both Thomas and Vivian could see Eleanor Meridian in her granddaughter's bearing. Let them keep underestimating me. It'll make tonight much easier. Outside, the city lights twinkled like stars, unaware that a war for one of its largest companies was about to begin. And at its center stood a 28-year-old woman who'd been laughed out of the building that morning but would return as its owner. The queen was finally on the board. Time to play. The executive elevator rose smoothly, carrying Sophia back to the world that had rejected her hours earlier. This time, James Mitchell stood beside her, badge granting access to floors she couldn't have imagined that morning. Ms. Reeves? He said quietly. I want to apologize again for You were doing your job. Sophia watched the numbers climb. Just like you're doing it now. The 51st floor was deserted, except for Sam Rodriguez and Oliver Westbrook, who waited. Outside a set of doors marked with brass letters, Eleanor Meridian, founder. No one's been in there since she left, Oliver wheezed, producing an old-fashioned key. Marcus wanted it cleared out, but the board voted to preserve it. Historical significance, we said. Truth was, we were all a little afraid of what we might find. The lock turned with a click that echoed in the empty hallway. The door swung open, revealing a space frozen in time. Eleanor's office was nothing like the modern minimalism that dominated the rest of the executive floor. Rich wood paneling, floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, and a massive oak desk that belonged in a museum. The air smelled of leather and old paper, with something else underneath. Lavender, Sophia realized. Her mother's favorite scent. 20 years, Sam said softly. Even the cleaning staff was forbidden entry. Sophia moved into the room, drawn to the desk where her grandmother had built an empire. Papers still lay scattered across its surface, as if Eleanor had just stepped out for coffee. A pair of reading glasses rested on an open ledger. She knew she was dying, Oliver said, settling into a leather chair with obvious relief. Pancreatic cancer. Told no one but me and her doctors. Said she had one last move to make. Me. Sophia picked up a framed photograph from the desk. A young woman who looked startlingly like her, holding a baby. Her mother and her infant self, she realized. She watched you for years, Sam added. Had reports on your academic achievements, your coding projects, even your coffee shop job in college. When you applied to Meridian Industries, she nearly broke her silence. But she didn't. No. She wanted to see what you'd do on your own merit. The job offer was legitimate. Your technical skills are exceptional, but she was running out of time. Sophia noticed something odd about the bookshelf behind the desk. Unlike the others, dust patterns suggested these books had been moved recently. She pulled on a leather-bound volume titled Corporate Governance and heard a mechanical click. The entire section swung inward, revealing a hidden room. Well, Oliver chuckled. That's new. The secret room was smaller, more modern. File cabinets lined one wall and a desk held multiple monitors, all dark. But what drew Sophia's attention was the wall covered in photographs, documents, and string, like a detective's murder board. At the center was Marcus Sterling, with lines connecting him to dozens of other faces, companies, and incidents. Her father's picture was there too, marked with a red X and the date of his downfall. Dear God, Sam breathed. She was investigating him all along. Sophia moved closer, reading notations in her grandmother's precise handwriting. Financial transfers, shell companies, a web of corruption that spanned decades. And there, in the eye guide corner, a section labeled Nuclear Option with a USB drive taped to the wall. She pulled it free, turning it over in her hands. Such a small thing to hold so much power. Ms. Reeves, James Mitchell's voice came from the outer office. You have a visitor. Says it's urgent. Lily Thompson stood in the doorway, press badge hanging from her neck, tablet in hand. The journalist was younger than Sophia expected, hungry eyes taking in every detail of the legendary office. Ms. Reeves, I'm Lily Thompson from the Financial Times. I've been investigating Meridian Industries for 3 years, and I think we need to talk. The press isn't allowed, Sam began. I know about the warehouse, Lily interrupted. I know Marcus is moving evidence tonight, and I know you're planning something incredibly dangerous that will probably get you killed unless you have help. Sophia studied the journalist. Vivian Sterling? Contacted me an hour ago, offered me the story of a lifetime if I helped you bring down her husband. Lily pulled up something on her tablet. I've been tracking suspicious Meridian Industries activities for years. Collapsed buildings, safety violations, government contracts that don't add up. Never had enough proof to publish. And now? Now I have the new owner of Meridian Industries ready to blow the whistle from the inside. Lily's smile was sharp. Do you know what that's worth? Not just to me, to all the families who lost people in those building collapses, to the taxpayers who funded fraudulent contracts. Oliver stood with effort. Eleanor would have liked you, he told Lily. She always said the press was the last defense against corporate corruption. Even hired a few journalists over the years, kept them on retainer. I know, Lily replied. I was one of them. The revelation hung in the air. Sophia looked around the room, her grandmother's secret investigation, her inherited allies, the pieces of a plan 20 years in the making. The USB drive, she said finally. What's on it? Sam had already moved to one of the monitors, powering it on. Only one way to find out. The screen flickered to life, requiring a password. Sophia thought for a moment, then typed, Catherine. Access granted. Files began opening. Financial records, government contracts, safety reports. But what made them all gasp was the video file labeled Sterling Confession. Marcus Sterling's face filled the screen, younger but unmistakable. He was speaking to someone off camera, laughing about the infrastructure fraud, bragging about framing Thomas Reeves, detailing bribes and cover-ups with casual arrogance. Hidden camera, Oliver murmured. Eleanor was recording him 20 years ago. Why? Didn't she use it? Sophia asked. Because she needed more than just Marcus, Sam realized. She needed the whole network. Look at these files. Senators, judges, other CEOs. If she'd moved too early, they'd have closed ranks. So she waited, Sophia said slowly. Waited for someone they wouldn't see coming. Someone with nothing to lose. Someone they'd already dismissed, Lily added, pulling up the viral video of Sophia's humiliation. The intern who thought she belonged, except she does belong. She owns the whole damn thing. Sophia made her decision. The warehouse tonight, we're not going to steal those documents. We're not? Sam looked confused. No. Sophia's smile would have made Eleanor proud. We're going to let Marcus steal them. And Lily is going to film every second of it. Live stream if possible. Catch him in the act, Lily breathed, with millions watching. While simultaneously releasing everything from this room to federal investigators, Sophia continued. A two-pronged attack he won't see coming because he's too focused on covering his tracks. Eleanor's nuclear option, Oliver said approvingly. Not just evidence, a trap. Sophia looked around the room at her unlikely allies, the lawyer who'd served her grandmother, the board member who'd waited 20 years for justice, the journalist, hungry for truth, and the security guard who'd found his conscience. My grandmother left me more than a company, she said. She left me an army, small, but positioned perfectly. Then we'd better move, Sam said, checking her watch. We have 6 hours until midnight. 6 hours to prepare for a confrontation. 20 years in the making. Sophia touched her mother's photograph one last time, then turned to face her inheritance. Time to spring Eleanor's trap. The warehouse squatted on the New Jersey waterfront like a forgotten secret. From their position in Lily's van, Sophia could see the Meridian Industries trucks arriving, disgorging men in black who moved with military precision. 3 vehicles, 12 men, James Mitchell observed through binoculars. He'd insisted on coming, bringing 2 trusted security officers who'd grown tired of Marcus's regime. Professional crew. This won't be easy. It doesn't have to be easy, Sophia replied, adjusting the wire Lily had hidden under her blazer. It just has to be public. Lily checked her equipment one final time. Livestream is ready. The moment we get visual confirmation of Marcus with those documents, we broadcast. My editor has reporters standing by at FBI headquarters and the SEC. And the federal investigators? Sophia asked Sam. Oliver's meeting with them now. The evidence from Eleanor's office was enough to get their immediate attention. They're mobilizing, but they need probable cause for arrests, which we're about to give them. Sophia took a deep breath. Everyone clear on their roles? Vivian Sterling emerged from the shadows of the van, having changed from designer clothes into dark, practical gear. Marcus just texted. He's 5 minutes out. Once he arrives, you have maybe 20 minutes before the documents are loaded and gone. Then let's move. They split into 3 groups. James and his men would create a distraction at the south entrance. Lily and her cameraman would position themselves for optimal footage. And Sophia, accompanied by Vivian, would enter through a service door Vivian had used during her husband's previous cleaning operations. The service door was exactly where Vivian had indicated, the security code unchanged from her last visit. They slipped inside, finding themselves in a maze of industrial shelving. His office is in the center, Vivian whispered. He always sets up a temporary command post during these operations. They moved carefully through the shadows, guided by the sound of voices and machinery. Through gaps in the shelving, Sophia could see men loading file boxes onto trucks. So much evidence, so many crimes about to disappear forever. Then she heard his voice. Want everything from 2003 to 2005 in the incinerator within the hour. The shell company documents go to the Cayman facility. Marcus Sterling stood in a clearing between the shelves, designer suit incongruous in the industrial setting. The briefcase Vivian had photographed sat on a folding table beside him, surrounded by boxes of documents. "Sir," one of his men approached, "there's a problem at the south entrance. Looks like some homeless people broke in." Marcus's jaw tightened. "Deal with it, quietly." As security moved toward James's distraction, Sophia saw her opportunity. She stepped into the clearing, Vivian beside her. "Hello, Marcus." He spun, face cycling through surprise, rage, and calculation in seconds. "Sophia, and my dear wife, what an unexpected reunion." "Is it?" Sophia moved closer, aware that Lily's camera needed clear footage. "You must have known I'd come. Eleanor trained me well, even from a distance." "Eleanor is dead," Marcus snapped, "and you're trespassing on private property." "Actually," Vivian said sweetly, "I'm still listed as co-owner of this particular shell company. You really should read the documents you have me sign." Marcus's hand moved toward his pocket, but Sophia was already speaking. "I wouldn't. James Mitchell has snipers on the roof. Oh, didn't Vivian mention? Your head of security had a crisis of conscience. Turns out he kept copies of every dubious order you gave him over the years. You're bluffing." "Am I?" Sophia gestured to the briefcase. "Tell me, Marcus, what's in there that's worth all this? The original infrastructure inspection reports? The real safety data from the Riverside Bridge collapse? Or maybe the recording of you ordering my father's destruction?" His face had gone pale. "You don't know what you're dealing with. The people involved, they're not just corporate executives. Senators, judges, people who shape this country. You can't fight them all." "I don't have to," Sophia said. "I just have to expose them. Do you know what's happening right now? Oliver Westbrook is sitting with federal investigators, walking them through 20 years of Eleanor's evidence. Every shell company, every bribe, every cover-up. Evidence can be disputed. Lawyers can... Not when you're caught on live television destroying documents." Sophia smiled as understanding dawned on Marcus's face. "Did you really think we came here to stop you? We came here to film you." Lily Thompson from the Financial Times has been streaming this entire conversation. 50,000 viewers and climbing. Marcus lunged for the briefcase, but Vivian was faster. She grabbed it, tossing it to Sophia, who dumped its contents across the floor. Documents scattered. Inspection reports with failed stamps covered by past stickers, bankroting, numbers, photographs of meetings that never officially happened. "Zoom in on these," Sophia told the shadows where Lily was filming. Especially this one. Safety inspection for the Riverside Bridge, dated 1 week before it collapsed. Signed by Marcus Sterling himself. You stupid girl, Marcus snarled. You have no idea what you've just done. They'll destroy you like they destroyed your father. You'll lose everything. Everything? Sophia laughed, surprising herself with how free it sounded. I was a junior developer this morning. I've already lost my anonymity, my normal life, any chance of a simple existence. What else can they take? Your life? Marcus said simply. Accidents happen. Your mother died young, didn't she? Such a tragedy when history repeats itself. The threat hung in the air, caught perfectly by Lily's microphones. Thank you, Sophia said quietly. That's the first honest thing you've said. And exactly what we needed. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. Through the warehouse windows, red and blue lights painted the night. Federal agents! The voice boomed through a megaphone. This is a raid! Everyone freeze! Marcus's face crumbled as he realized the scope of Eleanor's plan. 20 years of careful corruption, undone in 20 minutes by the granddaughter of his greatest enemy. She knew, he whispered. Eleanor knew exactly how this would end. Yes, Sophia agreed as federal agents flooded the warehouse. She knew you'd panic. She knew you'd try to destroy evidence. And she knew I'd be angry enough to stop you, especially after you humiliated me in front of the entire company. Agents cuffed Marcus Sterling as Lily broadcast the arrest to a live audience now exceeding 200,000. As evidence of decades of corruption was secured, Sophia felt her grandmother's presence. Eleanor Meridian had played the longest game imaginable, sacrificing her relationship with her daughter and granddaughter to build this moment. And Sophia, the intern who'd gotten lost that morning, had become the queen who'd delivered checkmate. Ms. Reeves, an agent approached, we'll need your full cooperation with the investigation. You'll have it, Sophia promised. Every document, every recording, every piece of evidence my grandmother collected. As they led Marcus away, he turned back one last time. You don't know how to run a company. Meridian Industries will collapse without me. Sophia thought of her father, of 20 years of injustice, of buildings that had fallen because of this. Man's greed. Then I'll build something better from the ruins, she said. Something honest. The warehouse lights blazed as evidence was catalogued, as truth finally saw daylight. And somewhere in the night, Sophia imagined Eleanor Meridian, finally at peace. The intern had become the queen. Now it was time to rebuild the kingdom. 6 months later, Sophia stood in the same boardroom where she'd learned her identity, but everything had changed. The mahogany table remained, but the faces around it were different. Half of the old board was under indictment, the rest had resigned, in disgrace. In their places sat a mixture of corporate reformers, ethics experts, and 2 representatives elected by Meridian Industries employees. The forensic audit is complete, Sam Rodriguez, now chief legal officer, slid a thick report across the table. The damage is worse than we thought. 37 unsafe buildings still in operation, over $2 billion in fraudulent government contracts, and a network of shell companies that made the Panama Papers look simple. But we've also found hidden assets, added David Kim, the new CFO Sophia had recruited from a nonprofit. Eleanor apparently squirreled away nearly $1 billion in various accounts, all legal, all waiting for this moment. Sophia nodded, thinking of the note her grandmother had left with the account information. For rebuilding, not revenge. What's the status on the Riverside Victims Fund? She asked. Fully operational, Oliver Westbrook replied. He'd stayed on, the only board member with clean hands. We've already processed compensation for 300 families. The memorial breaks ground next month. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, Sophia could see construction crews working on the building. Across the street, one of their properties, getting the safety renovation it should have had years ago. The cost was astronomical, but necessary. Ms. Reeves, James Mitchell appeared in the doorway, still head of security, but now protecting a very different kind of company. Your father's here. Thomas Reeves entered, still uncomfortable in the executive suite despite his daughter's insistence he belonged there. In his hands was a hard hat with Inspector General printed on it. The Milwaukee site passed inspection, he reported, legitimately this time, though we had to replace basically everything. That's the point, Sophia said. We do it right or not at all. Speaking of which, Lily Thompson entered without knocking, as was her prerogative as head of the newly created Office of Corporate Transparency. My teams finished the public report on last quarter's operations. Full disclosure on every project, every contract, every dollar spent. It goes live in an hour. Wall Street will hate it, David warned. Stock's already down 30% since you started these reforms. Good, Sophia replied. Maybe that'll scare away the speculators and leave us with investors who actually care about building things that don't fall down. A knock interrupted them. Ms. Reeves, a young developer, peered in nervously. Sorry to interrupt, but you said you wanted to see the new safety monitoring system before it goes live? Absolutely. Sophia stood, straightening her blazer, a better one now, though still bought off the rack. Board meeting adjourned. Let's go see what actual innovation looks like. The developer floor buzzed with energy. Where once programmers had built systems to hide fraud, they now created tools to expose it. Real-time safety monitoring, public contract tracking, AI that flagged suspicious financial patterns, technology serving transparency instead of deception. The system alerts inspectors the moment anyone tries to override a safety failure, the developer explained proudly. And everything's blockchain recorded, so no more switching failed stamps to past. Excellent work, Sophia said, meaning it. This is what Meridian Industries should have been building all along. Her phone buzzed. Vivian Sterling, calling from her new office at the Justice Department where she'd become a star witness in the ongoing prosecutions. Thought you'd want to know, Vivian said without preamble. Marcus just pled guilty to all charges. Life without parole, most likely. He's giving up names to reduce his sentence. How many more? Dozens. Senators, judges, other CEOs. It's going to reshape corporate America. After hanging up, Sophia found herself back in Eleanor's office. Her office now, though she'd kept it exactly as her grandmother left it. The hidden room remained open, its walls now holding plans for Meridian's transformation instead of evidence of its corruption. She studied the photo of her mother holding infant her. Catherine Meridian had fled this world, and Sophia understood why. But she also understood why Eleanor had stayed, had fought, had planned for decades to clean up what she'd helped create. You did it, she said to the empty room. You crazy, brilliant, ruthless woman. You actually did it. Talking to ghosts? Sam appeared in the doorway. Oliver wants to know if you're free for dinner. Says you haven't left the building in 3 days. Tell him I'll be right. Sophia's phone rang. Unknown number. Ms. Reeves? The voice was old, cautious. My name is Patricia Chen. I was Eleanor's private nurse, at the end. Sophia's breath caught. Yes? She asked. Me to call you 6 months after her death. Said you'd have questions by now. Said you'd be ready to hear the answers. Where? Central Park, Bethesda Fountain, 1 hour. Come alone. The line went dead. Sophia stared at the phone, then at Sam. Eleanor never stopped planning, did she? Sam said softly. No, Sophia agreed, and apparently neither can I. An hour later, she stood by the fountain where her parents had met 30 years ago, another piece of family history she'd learned from Eleanor's files. Patricia Chen was easy to spot, a small woman feeding pigeons on a bench. "You look like her," Patricia said as Sophia sat down. "Not Eleanor, Catherine. Same eyes, same determination." "You knew my mother?" "I was Eleanor's nurse for 40 years. I knew everyone she loved, even when she couldn't show it." Patricia pulled out an envelope, worn from being carried. "She wrote this the night before. She died. Said to give it to you only if you chose to rebuild instead of just revenge." Sophia's hands shook as she opened it. Eleanor's handwriting, shakier than in the office files. "My dear Sophia, if you're reading this, then you've done what I couldn't. Chose justice over power, truth over profit. I built Meridian Industries from nothing, watched it grow into something monstrous, and spent 20 years planning its redemption. But redemption wasn't mine to give. That required someone uncorrupted by the choices I made. Someone who could see with clear eyes what needed to be destroyed and what could be saved. Your mother ran from my world, and I let her go because I loved her. You ran toward it, and I let you come because I loved you too. The difference is, you came armed with righteousness I'd long lost. The company is yours now, truly yours. Not the corrupt empire I let it become, but whatever you choose to build from its bones. Make it something Catherine would have been proud of. Make it something worth the price we all paid. Your grandmother, Eleanor." When Sophia looked up, Patricia was gone, leaving only breadcrumbs and pigeons. The fountain sparkled in late afternoon sun, and Sophia realized she was crying. For the grandmother she'd never known, the mother she barely remembered, the father who'd sacrificed everything. Her phone buzzed. The new safety monitoring system was live, already flagging 3 sites that needed immediate inspection. The work never stopped. The rebuilding had only just begun. But for the first time in 6 months, Sophia smiled. She had work to do. 1 year after the day she'd been escorted from the building in humiliation, Sophia Reeves stood in the main lobby of Meridian Industries. But this time, she wasn't alone. Hundreds of employees had gathered for the unveiling of something that would have been unthinkable under Marcus Sterling's reign. "Ladies and gentlemen," Sophia spoke without a microphone, her voice carrying naturally through the space. "A year ago, this company was built on lies. Today, we reveal the truth." The silk covering fell away, revealing a memorial wall. Black. Granite etched with names. 417 people who had died in Meridian Industries, building collapses, bridge failures, and accidents over 2 decades. At the top, in letters that caught the light, "We remember, we take responsibility. We build better." Thomas Reeves stood in the front row, no longer in construction coveralls, but in the simple suit of Meridian's chief safety inspector. Beside him, James Mitchell wiped his eyes, remembering colleagues who'd tried to report problems and mysteriously disappeared. "Each name represents a failure," Sophia continued. "Not just of engineering, but of ethics. Not just of business, but of basic humanity. We cannot bring them back, but we can ensure their deaths mean something." She gestured to a young woman in the crowd. Maria Santos lost her father in the Riverside Bridge collapse. Today, she joins us as a structural engineer, part of our new Safety First initiative. Every project Meridian touches will have a family member of victims on the inspection team, because those who've paid the highest price have the most reason to ensure it never happens again. Applause rippled through the lobby, genuine and emotional, in a way corporate gatherings rarely were. "Ms. Reeves," a reporter called out. The press was always present now, part of Sophia's radical transparency policy. "Meridian's stock has dropped 50% since you took over. Shareholders are calling for your removal. How do you respond?" "I respond with facts," Sophia replied calmly. "Yes, our stock price has fallen. We've also passed every federal inspection, paid $3 billion in victim compensation, and haven't had a single safety incident in 12 months. If shareholders prefer profit over people's lives, they're welcome to sell. We'll survive without blood money. Another handshot. What about the criminal trials? Marcus Sterling's testimony implicated 3 senators and a federal judge. Are you concerned about political retaliation? I'm concerned about a lot of things, Sophia admitted, but not that. Eleanor Meridian taught me that sunshine is the best disinfectant. We broadcast our board meetings, publish our safety reports, and welcome federal oversight. It's hard to retaliate against complete transparency. The crowd began to disperse, but Sophia noticed a familiar figure by the memorial wall. Vivian Sterling, now using her maiden name Vivian Chen, traced a finger over one of the names. I didn't know he had a son, Vivian said quietly as Sophia approached. Rodriguez, Michael. Marcus mentioned him once as a solved problem. His boy would be about your age now. We found him, Sophia said, living in Detroit, raised by his grandmother after his father's accident. He starts law school next fall. Meridian's paying. All these years I told myself I didn't know how bad it was. Vivian's perfectly composed face cracked slightly. But I did. I just chose comfort over conscience. You chose survival, Sophia corrected, and when it mattered most, you chose justice. They stood in comfortable silence, 2 women who'd brought down an empire and were now trying to build something better from its ruins. Ms. Reeves? A security guard approached, one of the new hires, trained in protection rather than intimidation. There's a situation in your office you need to see. Sophia's office, still Eleanor's in her mind, was crowded with department heads when she arrived. On her desk sat a package wrapped in brown paper, no return address. Bomb squad's on the way, James Mitchell said. But preliminary scans show no explosives. Just paper. Everyone out, Sophia ordered. When James started to protest, she held up a hand. If someone wanted me dead, they've had a year of opportunities. This is something else. Alone, she carefully opened the package. Inside was a single photograph and a note. The photograph showed Eleanor Meridian, decades younger, standing with a man Sophia didn't recognize. They were at a construction site, hard hats in hand, smiling at something off camera. On the back, in fading ink, E.M. and William Chen, breaking ground on First Meridian Building, 1962. The note was newer, written in an elderly hand. Ms. Reeves, my name is William Chen. 60 years ago, Eleanor Meridian and I founded this company with a simple dream: build things that last. I was the engineer, she was the visionary. We were also in love, though the world wasn't ready for an interracial couple running a corporation. When pressure grew too great, I sold her my shares and disappeared. Cowardice, perhaps, but it let Eleanor build the empire she dreamed of. I watched from afar as that empire corrupted, as our dream became a nightmare. I'm 93 now, too old for revenge or recrimination. But I wanted you to know that Meridian Industries began with love, not greed. What you're doing, returning it to those roots, would make the young Eleanor proud. The photograph is yours, proof that even the mightiest corporations begin with 2 people who believe in something better. Build well, William Chen. Sophia set down the note with trembling hands. Another ghost, another piece of Eleanor's complex history. She wondered how many more secrets lay buried in the company's foundations. Her phone buzzed. Lily Thompson, texting. From Washington, where she was testifying before Congress about corporate transparency laws inspired by Meridian's transformation. Senate's passing the Reeves Act, mandatory public safety inspections for all government contractors. You did it. Sophia looked at the photograph again. Her grandmother, young and hopeful, believing she could build something that mattered. The empire had corrupted, the dream had soured, but the foundation remained. A knock at her door. "Come in," she called. A young woman entered nervously, the same developer who'd shown her the safety monitoring system months ago. Ms. Reeves, I'm supposed to start my presentation to the board about the new community housing project, but… She hesitated. I'm terrified. They're all so important, and I'm just a developer with a good idea? Sophia smiled, remembering her own terror in that elevator a year ago. Let me tell you a secret. The best ideas come from people who remember what it's like to not have power. Come on, I'll walk you up. And remember, you belong here as much as anyone. As they walked to the boardroom, past the memorial wall and the transparent offices, and the employees who now owned shares in their company, Sophia thought about circles. How her grandmother had built an empire, how it had corrupted, how it had fallen, and how from its ashes something better was rising. The intern who'd been humiliated was gone. In her place stood a woman who'd learned that power wasn't about stock prices or corner offices. It was about the courage to tell the truth, the strength to rebuild after destruction, and the wisdom to know that some things matter more than profit. Eleanor Meridian's empire was dead. Sophia Reeves's foundation was just beginning, and somewhere in the city, in buildings that would no longer fall, in bridges that would no longer collapse, in the safety of structures built with integrity, the ghost of the past finally found peace. The circle was complete. The real work could begin. 5 years had passed since the day Sophia Reeves inherited an empire built on lies. Now, she walked through Meridian Industries' newest building, not a towering monument to corporate power, but a community center in the South Bronx, built where one of their unsafe structures had been demolished. The coding boot camp has graduated. 300 students, Maria Santos reported, walking beside her. The former victim's daughter had become Sophia's most trusted lieutenant, her engineering degree augmented by an MBA and a fierce dedication to the company's new mission. 80% job placement rate, average starting salary $60,000. And the daycare? Free for all employees and community members below median income. We're serving 400 families. They paused at a window overlooking the playground, where children played on equipment that had passed every possible safety inspection. Some were the grandchildren of victims, others the children of employees who could now afford to work because childcare wasn't consuming their paychecks. Ms. Reeves? A young man approached, tablet in hand. Miguel Rodriguez, Michael's son, the one whose father Marcus Sterling had eliminated. He'd graduated law school with honors and chose to work for Meridian's new victim advocacy division. The Times wants a statement about the anniversary. Which anniversary? Sophia asked, though she knew. Everything in her life seemed to revolve around anniversaries now. 5 years since Sterling's arrest, they're doing a retrospective on corporate reform. Tell them the truth, Sophia said. That we're not reformed. We're rebuilt. There's a difference. Her phone buzzed. A reminder about the board meeting. The monthly gatherings were still live-streamed, still open to employee attendance, still revolutionary by corporate standards. I'll handle the Times, Maria offered. You should get to the board meeting. Big vote today. The boardroom had changed. Gone was the imposing mahogany table, replaced by a circular arrangement that put everyone on equal footing. The board itself was radically different. Employees, ethicists, community representatives, and only a few traditional business executives. Before we begin, Oliver Westbrook wheezed from his seat. At 93, he refused to retire, claiming he wanted to see how the story ended. I have an announcement. I'm transferring my remaining shares to the Employee Ownership Trust. Gasps around the table. Oliver's 5% stake was worth hundreds of millions, even with the stock price reflecting reality rather than inflated expectations. It's what Eleanor would have wanted, he continued. Hell, it's what she should have done 40 years ago. Better late than never. Sophia smiled, thinking of her grandmother. The Eleanor Meridian Trust now controlled 70% of the company, 51% in Sophia's name, the rest distributed among employees and victims' families. It was an ownership structure that made Wall Street analysts break out in hives. "Now then," Sophia said, calling the meeting to order, "the proposal before us today is significant. David?" David Kim, still CFO despite headhunters offering him triple his salary, pulled up the presentation. Project Haven, our most ambitious undertaking yet. We've identified 43 buildings in low-income neighborhoods that need complete safety overhauls. The residents can't afford it. The city won't fund it. And technically, it's not our responsibility since we didn't build them. But, Sophia prompted, but we have the expertise, the resources, and frankly, the moral obligation to act. The question is whether we commit $2 billion to fixing buildings we don't own and didn't break. The room fell silent. It was the kind of decision that would have been laughed out of the old boardroom. Massive expenditure with zero return on investment. "I move to approve," said Janet Williams, the employee representative from the construction division. "My crew's ready. We've been training for this kind of work." "Seconded," added Dr. Amara Okafor, the ethics professor Sophia had recruited from Columbia. The measure of a company isn't what it's legally required to do, but what it chooses to. The vote was unanimous. As the meeting concluded, Sophia's assistant appeared. "Ms. Reeves, there's someone here to see you. Says he's been waiting 5 years for the right moment." In her office, she'd finally moved Eleanor's things to a memorial room, making the space her own. A man in his 60s waited. Asian features. Expensive suit, but something in his bearing that spoke of construction sites rather than boardrooms. "Ms. Reeves." He stood, extending a hand. "I'm William Chen Jr. I believe you received a note from my father." Sophia's breath caught. "He's still alive?" 98 and stubborn as ever. "He sent me to deliver this." William Jr. produced an envelope. "Said you'd earned it." Inside was a single share certificate, old, yellowed, but legally valid. 1 share of the original Meridian Industries, dated 1962, made out to future generations. "My father kept it all these years," William explained. "Said someday, someone would deserve to own a piece of the dream he and Eleanor started. The real dream, not what it became." "I can't accept this," Sophia said, though her hands clutched the certificate. "You already have. Every safe building, every life saved, every chance given to someone who needed it. That's accepting the original dream." William Jr. smiled. "He also wanted me to tell you something. He said Eleanor called him the night before she died, told him her granddaughter would either destroy the company or save it. He bet on save." "Smart man," Sophia said softly. After William left, Sophia stood at her window looking out at the city. 5 years ago, she'd been nobody, a junior developer who took the wrong elevator. Now she was. What? Not a CEO in any traditional sense. Not a corporate titan like her grandmother. She was something new, something the business world didn't have a name for yet. Her phone rang. Sam Rodriguez, calling from the Supreme Court where she was arguing a case about corporate responsibility. "We won," Sam said simply. "Unanimous decision. Corporations can be held criminally liable for safety violations, even decades later. The sterling precedent is now law." "Eleanor would be proud," Sophia said. "No," Sam corrected. "Eleanor would be shocked. She built within the system, accepted its corruptions as necessary evils. You rebuilt the system itself. That's not her legacy. It's yours." After hanging up, Sophia returned to the certificate. 1 share of the original dream. She thought of William Chen and Eleanor Meridian, young and in love, believing they could build something that mattered. Of her mother, who'd fled that world rather than be corrupted by it. Of her father, who'd fought it and lost. Or so it had seemed. But maybe none of them had lost. Maybe they'd all been playing a longer game, each move setting up the next, until a junior developer could stumble into the right elevator at the right moment and change everything. A knock at her door. Maria Santos entered, iPad in hand. "The community center's ready for the dedication," she said. "Your father's already there, running one last safety check." "Of course he is," Sophia smiled. "Let's go then. We have a future to build." As they left, Sophia glanced back at Eleanor's photograph, now hanging alongside William Chen's, her mother's, and dozens of others. All the people who'd built, corrupted, fought, and ultimately redeemed Meridian Industries. The intern's humiliation had become the founder's pride. The circle was complete. But the story, Sophia knew, was just beginning. 20 years after that fateful elevator ride, Sophia Reeves stood in the same lobby where she'd once been humiliated. But the space had transformed beyond recognition. Where marble and mahogany once intimidated visitors, living walls and natural light now welcomed them. The memorial to the 417 victims remained, but it was now surrounded by photos and stories of the thousands of lives saved by Meridian's reformed practices. "Ready for this?" Thomas Reeves asked, adjusting his tie. At 72, he'd officially retired, but remained the conscience of every safety inspection. Today, though, he was just a proud father. "As ready as anyone can be," Sophia replied, smoothing her blazer, still off the rack, a deliberate choice that had become her trademark. The ceremony was beginning. The dedication of the Eleanor Meridian Institute for Corporate Ethics, a teaching hospital for business leaders. Instead of medical residents, it would train executives in the radical notion that companies could succeed by serving communities rather than exploiting them. The crowd was massive. Employees, community members, reformed executives from other companies who'd followed Meridian's lead, and surprisingly, William Chen. At 118, he was possibly the oldest person in New York, but he'd insisted on attending. She would have hated this, he told Sophia as she helped him to his seat. Eleanor despised ceremonies, but she would have loved what you've built. "We built," Sophia corrected. "All of us." Maria Santos took the podium first, now president, of Meridian Industries while Sophia focused on the institute. 20 years ago, my father died because a bridge built by this company collapsed. Today, Meridian structures have the lowest failure rate in the industry. Not because regulations require it, but because we remember the cost of cutting corners. Applause rippled through the crowd. Maria continued. "The woman we're honoring today inherited a poisoned chalice and transformed it into a healing cup. Please welcome Sophia Reeves." Sophia climbed the steps slowly, carrying a worn leather folder. The crowd quieted as she reached the podium. "I want to tell you about 3 women," she began. "The first built an empire but lost her soul. The second fled that empire to save hers. The third stumbled into it by accident and decided to build something new." She opened the folder, revealing the letter Eleanor had left her 20 years. Ego. Eleanor Meridian, my grandmother, wrote that redemption wasn't hers to give. She was right. But she was wrong about one thing. I didn't come armed with righteousness. I came terrified, overwhelmed, completely unprepared for the responsibility she dropped on me. Nervous laughter from the crowd. Everyone knew the story of the intern who'd inherited billions. What saved me, what saved this company, wasn't moral superiority. It was the simple question my father taught me. What's the right thing to do? Not the profitable thing, not the strategic thing, but the right thing. She gestured to the building around them. This institute will teach that question, not as philosophy, but as practice. Every student will work on real projects in real communities. They'll see firsthand that doing right isn't just morally better, It's sustainable in ways exploitation never can be. "Ms. Reeves," a voice called from the crowd. Sophia recognized the reporter, the same one who'd questioned her about stock prices years ago. "Meridian's value has increased tenfold since you took over. You've proven ethical business can be profitable. So why are you stepping down as CEO?" The crowd stirred. This hadn't been announced. "Because," Sophia said calmly, "Meridian doesn't need me anymore. Maria Santos and her team understand our values. The employee ownership structure ensures those values will persist. And I have other work to do." She pulled out a new document. "Effective immediately, I'm converting my shares into a perpetual trust. The dividends will fund the Institute and a new project, helping other companies transition from exploitation to service. We're calling it the Redemption Protocol." "You're giving away billions," the reporter pressed. "I'm investing billions," Sophia corrected, "in the radical idea that business can be a force for healing, that companies can succeed by lifting communities rather than crushing them. That profit without purpose is just elaborate theft." William Chen was crying, she noticed. So was her father. Even Sam Rodriguez, now a Supreme Court justice, wiped her eyes. Eleanor Meridian's greatest tragedy wasn't that she built a corrupt empire, Sophia continued. It was that she believed corruption was necessary, that you had to choose between success and goodness. She was wrong. We've proven she was wrong. And now we're going to teach others how to prove her wrong. The applause was thunderous. As Sophia stepped down, a young woman approached. She couldn't have been more than 25, wearing an ill-fitting suit, clutching a portfolio. "Ms. Reeves, I'm starting at the Institute next week. I just wanted to say, I grew up in public housing. My mom cleaned offices at night. Nobody in my family ever thought I'd make it to business school, but your scholarship program." "What's your name?" Sophia asked gently. "Catherine. Catherine Kim." Sophia's breath caught. Catherine, her mother's name. Kim, possibly related to David, her CFO, or even to William Chen's family. The circles of connection spinning endlessly forward. "Well, Catherine," Sophia said, "let me give you the same advice someone should have given me 20 years ago. You belong here. Your perspective matters. And when you feel overwhelmed, remember, the right thing to do is usually the simple thing. Help people. Tell the truth. Build things that last." As the ceremony concluded, Sophia found herself back in Eleanor's office, now a meditation room open to all employees. The secret room had been converted into a mini museum, displaying the evidence that had brought down an empire and the plans that had built something better. She stood before the photo of her grandmother and William Chen, young and hopeful at that construction site. Beside it now hung other photos, her parents on their wedding day, Marcus Sterling being led away in handcuffs, the first graduating. Class of the Meridian Community Coding Boot Camp, Maria Santos ringing the bell as stock prices reflected true value rather than inflated lies. "So," Thomas Reeves said, joining her, "what's next?" "I don't know," Sophia admitted. "For 20 years I've been responding to Eleanor's plan, cleaning up her mess, fulfilling her vision, redeeming her legacy. But that's done now." "So you're free." "Free." Sophia tested the word. "I spent so long being the reluctant heir, then the reformer CEO. Now I get to be." "What?" "Yourself," her father said simply. "The woman who asked, 'What's right?' and then did it, consequences be. Damned. That's not Eleanor's legacy or Catherine's or mine. That's yours." Outside, the city hummed with life. Buildings that would stand, bridges that would hold, companies learning that exploitation was a choice, not a necessity. Sophia smiled, thinking of the intern who'd taken the wrong elevator, who'd been humiliated and exalted in the same day, who'd inherited a burden and transformed it into a gift. "Come on," she told her father. Let's go home. Tomorrow, we start building something new. As they left, the last light of sunset caught the inscription above the Institute's entrance. In memory of those who fell, in honor of those who rise, in hope of those who build. The intern's story was complete. The teacher's story was just beginning. And somewhere in the city, in boardrooms and classrooms and community centers, the revolution continued. One right decision at a time. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.